A harem is a sacred forbidden place in a house or in the palace. Numerous wives and concubines lived in these rooms. Only husband had the right to enter to there, and his most trusted people. No one else was strictly allowed to cross the threshold of the harem. Harems first appeared on the lands of the Arab Caliphate in the 8th century, but only at the end of the 9th century did the wives of the masters begin to lead a secluded life. They lived in their own world, isolated and immersed in luxury. And later the entire Islamic East began to practice harems. Today I will tell you about the harems of the Ottoman Empire. Harems were at their peak. Sultans used to marry many women and never the one and only, because it was considered as a gross violation of the traditions we profess for centuries. Such women's communities were ruled by the mothers of the sultans. There is a version that in ancient times there were endless bloody wars, because of which a huge number of males died in these battles. And men have an urgent need to preserve the family, and they sought to impregnate as many women as possible. And therefore they took concubines from the conquered territories. Something similar to harems already appeared in the 3rd millennium BC. At least this is what some archaeological excavations say. And harem girls were also bought at the age of 5 to 6. Such a young age was required for the proper education of future captives of the harem and training them for certain tasks. Girls were required to have beauty, intelligence. They had to become trained and educated. They studied music, dance, calligraphy, and history. And when the girls reached the right age, they were trained in the art of conversation, and not least, the ability to give pleasure to a man. Then the young girls were shown to the Grand Vizier, and he already passed a verdict based on her external and mental qualities, and they moved to the rank of potential concubines. It must be said that not all girls ended up in harems of their own free will. Some as a result of abduction, but more often it happened that parents themselves gave their daughters away, changing children for a certain amount, and thereby waiving any rights to the child. Parents even begged for their daughter to be taken under such high patronage. Girls were looked for in different parts of the world. Circassians, the name of the handsome man of the North Caucasus, and Slavs were especially valued. Roxolana is the most famous concubine of Slavic origin, which eventually became the most beloved wife of Suleiman the Magnificent. Also, many women were brought from Africa. Women were, in fact, ordinary slaves without any rights, and often they could, for some ridiculous reason, even be deprived of life. Sultan Ibrahim once ordered to collect all his beloved concubines, put them in bags, and throw them from the tower into the Bosphorus. He allegedly dreamed of something during another spree. Suleiman's concubine Gulfama, the Magnificent, was executed due to the fact that she did not come to the Sultan at night. Shameless behavior from the point of view of the guards, which could be that the woman spoke louder than expected. Accusations of treason, all this could serve as a weighty reason for an unconditional execution. In accordance with the Quran, Muslims were not supposed to be kept as slaves by Muslims. This is another reason why many concubines were foreigners. The girls had to remain modest and executive. After her master had chosen her for tonight, she had to clean herself up, which included bathing, oiling, and so on, and after, while crawling on all fours to the bed, as well as kissing the edge of the sofa on which her master was reclining. If she managed to satisfy the owner, she was given awards as well as promotion through the hierarchical ladder of the harem. After the death of the owner, women usually received freedom. During the Ottoman Empire, the harem of the former ruler moved to the old palace and lived there until the end of his life. Nowadays it happens differently. For example, Kim Jong-un, having come to power in 2011, immediately dismissed his father's harem. For some time harems also existed in Rus. Prince Vladimir had the most numerous, a staff of wives and concubines, although he is revered as the Baptist of Rus. These facts are described in various books of those times. Vladimir was overcome by lust and had many wives, and he had 300 concubines in Vishgorod, 300 in Belgorod, and 200 in Brestov. He was insatiable and brought married women and various girls to him. There is a lot of evidence that other Russian rulers kept harems in closed towers, and they secretly existed almost until the 18th century. And Peter was the first to put an end to this custom. Nevertheless, in spite of all the horrors of such a slavish condition of women, some of them, having achieved a high position in the harem, had a prosperous and entertainment-rich life. The palaces had theaters, ballet troupes, and orchestras. But in modern times, the inhabitants of the harem do not have maids and eunuchs. They have to do the housework themselves. Although if the husband is wealthy enough, he can bring some conveniences to his harem. And here story ends. Thank you for watching and see you soon.